Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Creativity Offers Us a New Formula for Life. In this interview, we are extremely pleased to have Sophie Lavender, one of our contributors, and Julie Samuels, the co-lead, along with myself, of the Augmented Society Network. So I'm going to hand over to Julie for this, and I will add value if I possibly can. Julie, and welcome, Sophie.
Hi, Sophie. Thank you for joining us. Sophie, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm a Libra, I'm a goth, but aside from all that, I kind of call myself a bit of like a creative wizard. So I do photography and creative writing, and I also host like a monthly spoken word and comedy club based in Lincoln, which is loads of fun. But in the past, I've also done filmmaking, stand-up comedy, and musical comedy. Getting back into the songwriting stuff now, which is really exciting, but I'm kind of going a bit in a different direction with that. But at the moment, my life is pretty much just photography, green room, and writing all sorts. So yeah.
So tell us about the green room. People that don't know.
Oh my god, the green room. So it's the full name is like the Green Room Spoken Word Fellowship, and it's a Facebook group. So if you're interested in joining and coming along, pop yourself into the Facebook group so you can get all the memes and all the updates and a safe space to show your work. But when the monthly events happen in person, we meet at like I call it the Spoken Word Speakeasy, because you have to like make the effort to find it. It's literally behind like a little green door on Tentacross Street, and it's so easy to walk past. You got to look out for the little green door on Tentacross Street, and then in that little speakeasy, there's this gorgeous, snug, cozy, safe space. And we do emphasize that it's a safe space because it's a place where people go and they share really personal things, or they're trying something new, and they want an audience that they know is there to support them, to kind of give them like valuable feedback and things like that. But we've kind of created a really nice little community with all the local comedians and poets, and we're getting comedians and poets coming in from all over the place, like Nottingham and Peterborough, Cambridge, or somebody from London come up as well, which is really exciting. We've had a couple of like Scottish people who have like come down to Lincolnshire and are like really excited to come to the green room. So yeah, it's lots of fun. It's a blast. It gets, for a poetry club, it gets wild. Like it gets really wild. But that's what we like. We don't do boring. So yeah.
But I guess talk about the safe spaces. That kind of leads quite nicely onto the burlesque project that you're doing, the Tassels Off, because obviously it's women predominantly, and they are, for the photography sessions, they were kind of, they had to kind of reveal quite a lot of their bodies for the photo as all for the performance. The idea of the kind of the safe space and the kind of sensitive audience is something that I guess that you're kind of quite passionate about. Could you tell us a little bit about that project, please?
So I do, yeah, I value safety, and I value making people feel comfortable, and that's kind of like what we do at the green room definitely as well. And it's something that I do as a creative when I'm photographing. I would never want to photograph somebody and for them to not like the photo, and a huge part of them liking the photo is that they are comfortable having the photo taken in the first place, which is really important. And so the project that I'm doing for this exhibition that's coming up, the Creativity Offers a New Formula for Life, is called Tassels Off, and it's exploring the psychological link between body positivity, wellness, improved sense of well-being, and burlesque. So as part of the project, we interviewed, I say we, because if I say I too much, I feel like I'm being really arrogant. So I'm really sorry if I say we a lot. So basically I interviewed 4 local burlesque dancers, 2 of them that I'd photographed previously, for a Women's Day photo shoot, and we were asking them questions about, self-image, mental health, their self-worth, and all of that jazz, so that we can try discover what is the formula or like the secret sauce to kind of having this improved areas in like several elements of your life since getting into burlesque. And there has been some beautiful insights, and I remember the Zoom that we did with Buttercup, and there are things that she has said within that Zoom interview that will stay with me forever, especially how getting into burlesque has fundamentally changed the way that she viewed her body. And what will stay with me for the rest of my life is that she said that when she looked in the mirror, she stopped viewing herself on a scale of attractiveness and viewed herself on a scale of functionality. So how strong is she? What is her stamina? What is she, instead of looking at how pretty her body is, I mean, she's absolutely gorgeous anyway. But instead of like viewing herself through like the lens of how pretty am I, she viewed herself through the lens of what am I capable of? What is this? The other burlesque dancers call it like a meat flesh suit. so what is this so what is this capable of? What can I do, rather than how can I look? And that, honestly, that changed so many things in my personal life in regards to how I view myself. So if I'm having a bad body day, which we all do, I kind of think, well, I'm having a really bad body day at the moment. However, I'm still alive. I can still go on, like I'm really into walking, which is like nerdy. I can still go on these long ass walks and things like that. I can still live. I can, and then also think of like creative, I can still do things. And at the end of the day, it's a lot of people say like what they find most appealing is about somebody can be like their energy and things like that. So even if I'm having a bad body day, I think to myself, as long as I'm still trying to do my best to be a good person and do the right thing and still be capable of doing the things that I want to be capable of doing, then that is fine. That is okay.
It's lovely. It's lovely to hear you say that. It's really, really refreshing. So obviously, myself and Sophie, we're both in Lincolnshire, and obviously, I've met two of the burlesque dancers, and it's really weird to have met them, because obviously I'd seen them in their photos, and when I met them, they were very kind of quiet. I thought, oh, the same. They were very, very friendly, but they seemed the personalities seemed very kind of, just, very, very different to kind of formative state. I've seen them in the photos, they were kind of very kind of flamboyant. And it was lovely to see that, they were just your typical woman you might see on the street, you just say hello to. But then suddenly, this kind of, spotlight on them, and suddenly they were these kind of glamorous that everybody would look at kind of women. And I thought it was really, really kind of refreshing that you could see they were just in their jeans and casual stuff when I saw them. But actually there was this really kind of creative and vibrant kind of, that could fill the stage person as well. But, that when you're walking on the street, and so I started thinking, what? How many people do we walk past and think, they're just, out doing their shopping, blah, blah, blah. But actually, there are all these kind of wonderful sides to them that we don't get to see, we don't get to find about, we never get to experience. And it was so nice to have met those two dancers and actually and I'd already seen their photos previously and say, wow, you know what? When we take people at face value, we never see the true person, do we?
Exactly. Like you can walk past. So I was like last week, I was having bubble tea with one of my besties, and a green and regular walked past, and like I was in the queue in the shop, so and the guy was outside walking past, so I didn't get to say hi. I always feel really rude when I see someone from the green room and I don't get to say hi. But I said to her, I was like, "Oh, that's Jeremy," and she's like, "Oh, Jeremy." And says, "Yeah, Jeremy, the guy who directed Peep Show," and she's like, "What?" Either like, and she did, but like she just thought he was just a regular guy, and he's done so many amazing things, so many cool things. And I'm like, I had a friend who comes to the green room because they wanted to say hi to Jeremy because they love Peep Show, and it was really nice. But like from working like as a photographer, I've photographed quite a few artists and things like that, and I don't really get, like I call it like the razzle dazzle around people who may be celebrities and things like that, because from having worked with artists and meeting so many amazing people, the more you meet people, the more you realize that they are human, they are regular people. They've just done some amazing things, or they have some brilliant skills and things like that. And what I really like about like the Tassels Off project is that these are very relatable people that we are interviewing. These are people who have faced the same struggles as any other person or woman. I kind of say person and woman, with two of the dancers are like AFAB non-binary. But regardless of your gender identity, you can and you will relate to these people, because they have faced struggles that we have all faced. So many, like I would say that everybody almost who has an AFAB body, which means like assigned female at birth. So anyone that has an AFAB body has grown up in a society that has demonized women's bodies, or AFAB bodies rather. And as women, we feel like we're under this microscope permanently, through that's kind of driven by the male gaze about how you have to look a certain way, you have to carry yourself a certain way. One of like, it's been the TEDx Brave for Paul flagship weekend this weekend, and one of the youngest public speaker was talking about young women in music and taiko drumming, and about how growing up women are discouraged from being loud, from being boisterous, from being like, look at this, and things like that. But that's also one of the reasons why autism gets missed in young girls, because girls are expected to be quiet. So when a girl is quiet, people don't raise an eyebrow. But that's another topic, that's another rant. But yeah, but these women are so relatable. And no matter who you are, when you listen to the interview and hear their stories, hear the things that they've gone through. So Diva Rose, one of the burlesque dancers, she's chronically ill and disabled. They are a wheelchair user. And if I remember correctly, they use like a variety of mobility aids and adaptations and things like that. And they've managed to figure out a dance routine that is accommodating to their chronic illness and their disabilities. We have Miss Macabre, who has also suffered with chronic illness. Same with, and I keep wanting to say their real names because I know them as like friends. And then we have Miss Pixie, who has also struggled with illness and things in the past. And then there's Buttercup, who has like had certain mental health struggles. I think she alluded to, or briefly touched on, like a history involving eating disorders and things like that. And anybody with an AFAB body who's grown up in a society that scrutinizes women's bodies has had some experience, no matter how big or small, with kind of a problematic change in how we view food and diet culture and all of that jazz. And what I really like about these interviews is that these women and people have been really open, they've been really honest, and they've also kind of shone a light into how getting into cabaret has taken those issues and just flipped them upside down, so that they're the ones who are in control, they're the ones who are empowered. There's a feminist writer, she's a bit like Marmite in the feminism community, Caitlin Moran, in like one of the earliest books that she wrote a thing about comparing striptease to burlesque. I mean, I do know some people who, or I know a couple of women who do the strip club stuff, and they're happy with it, they enjoy it. It makes them happy. And but like her way of describing it was quite negative, and I do think that was a bit unfair. But one comment that she made which it kind of explained things a bit, is that so like it may have changed now, but like way back then, way back 10 years ago when she wrote the book, she said that when she went to a strip club, the women didn't look happy because they weren't the ones in control. They didn't have a control over the dancing. They didn't have control over themselves, and they weren't empowered because they weren't doing the dancing because it made them happy. They're doing it because, you know, they weren't trying to entertain someone. They're trying to get money out of them. Obviously, like the experiences with the strippers that I've spoken to is different, and to how she wrote it. But when she kind of talks about burlesque, she says the thing with burlesque is that the burlesque dancers are in full control of what they do. They get to control when and where they perform. They get to have more control over what they charge, but also it takes the power away from the people in the audience and puts the power in their hands. The burlesque dancer is empowered in the sense of that she's the one that is in control of what's going on. And yeah, it's really interesting when you speak to burlesque dancers, how having that sense of control has been a huge element into the improved sense of well-being, which we are discovering at the moment.
Absolutely fascinating.
I waffled on a lot.
No, you didn't. You see, we have these conversations all the time, and now I'm having to share these conversations that we have with everybody else. Oh, it's absolutely fascinating.
Regardless of where you dance or where you strip, one thing that we came upon is that there is still like this problematic element of whorephobia, where women are still judged regardless of where they dance, and that's wrong. Whether you do burlesque, whether you strip, whether you do whatever else there is out there, if you're happy and it makes you happy, then what's the problem? You know.
I
definitely
when I met Buttercup for the first time, it was actually at the Burlesque Hall of Fame, and she has an incredible presence. Actually, it was one that I kind of, when you meet someone, you can instantly get a feel for them, or sometimes people take more discovery. But with Buttercup, it's a quiet but very powerful discovery, I feel. And it's also, it was fascinating to listen to the Titans of Tea's work that she does, which is burlesque for the over 70s. Which is,
she tells, I love that. I love that idea.
Which I'm going to put my name, I'm a way off, but I'm going to put my name down. I think I'll be ready at that point. But my question really is that society places the pink and the blue, the fundamental requirement to be male or female, and this has slowly been changing, but it's been changing and being recorded since Roman times and before, since we learned how to draw and storytell. It's something that's very much in our conversations today. What would you say to someone who's struggling with their identity? Is there anything you could offer to ease a path in any way, Sophie?
And is that in regards to gender identity or like self-expression?
Self-expression, probably more than anything.
I would say to just find what makes you feel most like you, no matter what it is, and just dive headfirst straight into it. So for a while, like when I was a kid, I loved all like the emo stuff, all the spooky stuff, dressing in, like, I wasn't allowed to dye my hair, but I like dressing it in black and things like that. And then when I was like going for like bullying and things like that, not because of like the dress, because we all wore school uniforms and stuff. We're all kind of like made equal in that sense. But like, even if you're being bullied for one thing, it affects how you view yourself in other things. So for too long of a time, I tried to kind of dress like everybody else and have similar interests to everybody else. There's this huge, like, I'm a huge psychology nerd, and if I wasn't doing this, I would be a psychiatrist. But there's this huge psychologically driven need to not want to be outcasted from a group, to stay within the group, because that is the key, that is like in your head, that is the thing telling you that you need to survive. We're humans, we're very social creatures, we are socially driven. If we weren't, then I doubt half of the stuff we have now would have occurred. So I completely understand like that feeling of, I need, like, I've already been outcasted, I need to try stay in. I need to stay in, or I'm not going to survive. And I only really dressed how I wanted to dress when I was going to like particular events, like the steampunk events or the goth weekends or the comic cons and things like that, where it's okay to step out the box a little. It wasn't until, I would say, 2019. So in 2019, I had a mild difficulty with my mental health, where I have PTSD, and I had a sense of like delayed PTSD, but loads of stuff hit me at once, out of nowhere, knocked me back, knocked me to 6. And I didn't have access to a therapist. I was like, I've got to download some apps, I've got to read some books, I've got to claw myself out of this, or I'm not going to survive. And it was through that experience I thought, you know what, I am just going to start being myself a little bit. And like bit by bit, I started to dress a bit more like how I want to dress. I started to be more honest about the music that I listen to. I mean, yeah, I do genuinely love Taylor Swift, but I also love metal music. I love my Ghost, I love my Metallica, Behemoth, all that jazz. And I found that the more that I was myself, the less outcasted I felt. It's the complete reverse of what I thought was going to happen. I mean, now like my hair's black, I've got like satanic imagery all over the walls. You're not seeing it because we've got a background on, but it's fine. And I've got like I bought myself a sword for Christmas, because like I want a big sword on my wall. Velvet days with the lots. But yeah, so I thought that the more that I was the more that I was different, the more that I would be treated differently. When actually, the more that I kind of just fell head first into being myself and the things that genuinely interested me, the more I felt included in everything, even like with people who are not interested in the same stuff. So I would say, if you're struggling with self-expression, forget everything else. Think about what you want, what makes you happy, what makes you feel like you. I feel most like myself when I have black lipstick on. 110%. I feel is it socially acceptable for a Zoom interview? Maybe not, but like, but I feel my best. So if find your black lipstick, whatever your version of black lipstick is. It could be heels, it could be shaving your head, anything. Find your equivalent to my black lipstick, lean into it, tumble into it, then dive into it, and just be you. Dress how you want, be interested in whatever you want, and you will be surprised how more included you feel, but also you'll be surprised just how much better your life is when you step outside and you actually feel like you.
Well, that's fantastic. That's absolutely
That's
brilliant.
wonderful.
I think on that incredible note, Sophie, thank you very much indeed. I don't know if you wanted to
No, just to say it's marvellous. The Sophie that I met however many years ago is just the Sophie I met is didn't have the black lipstick, but I tell you what, she wears that black lipstick permanently now, and it's wonderful.
Well, thank you very, very much indeed, and we'll look forward to seeing you in November.
I'm super excited for it. Yeah, I'm buzzing. I'm nervous, but I'm buzzing, and I can't wait. Thank you so much for having me.
Brilliant.
Thank you.